Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Friday, September 13th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap last night's Thursday night football game between the Bucks and the Panthers. Baseball last night, look back on last night's baseball games and yesterday's during the day and look ahead to tonight's games. FIBA World Cup, catch up with that a little bit. Team USA lost again. Picks for Sunday's WNBA playoff games. College football week 3 for the weekend, and NFL week 2 for Sunday and Monday, and finally my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start with the Thursday night football game, and the Bucks pull off the upset outright 24-13 over the Panthers as Bruce Arians' team goes to 1-1 on the season. Carolina drops to 0-2. Jameis Winston put up a fine performance, 16 of 25, 208 yards and a touchdown. What's encouraging for Winston is that he did not turn the ball over. Cam Newton, 25 of 51, 333 yards and a fumble lost. Christian McCaffrey, 16 carries on 37 yards, 2 receptions on 16 yards. So Tampa's defense really showed me something in this game. Curtis Samuel, 5 for 91 receiving, 1 for 2 rushing. And Cam Newton didn't have any rushing yards, weirdly enough, sacked 3 times. Peyton Barber, 23 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. Ronald Jones, 4 carries for 9 yards, and same with Winston. Chris Godwin was the best receiver in this game, 8 for 21 in the touchdown. Mike Evans was 4 of 61. O.J. Howard did not do anything. And obviously, everyone's talking about the 4th and 1 play at the end where Christian McCaffrey was a yard short of the first down, or even less than a yard short, I should say, and they didn't get the job done. And now there's people questioning Cam Newton and his health and whatnot, and people talking themselves into the fact that the Buccaneers might be this surprise team, and week 1 was just a sort of an aberration. So we'll see about that as the weeks go forward. Baseball. Look back on yesterday and last night's games. Look ahead to today. Game 1 of the doubleheader between the Yanks and the Tigers. Yankees come out on top 10-4. They lost Edwin Encarnacion in this game due to an oblique. Jay Happ in this game as well due to, I believe it's a biceps injury. Yankees 96-51, Detroit 43-101. Chad Green the win, Matt Boyd the loss. Happ actually was okay. 4 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 5.07. Green in relief, 2 in the 3rd innings, a hit and a run, no walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 4.57. Matt Boyd 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, ERA 4.54. Mets 11-1 winners over the Diamondbacks. They're 76-70. Arizona 75-72. Marcus Stroman the win. Alex Young the loss. Stroman, his best game as a Met, 6 in the 3rd innings, 4 hits, an earned run, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 4.5. Alex Young, 2 2/3 innings, 5 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, ERA 3.38. Brewers over the Marlins 3-2, so they're 2-0 without Yelich now. That's incredible. 78-68. Miami 51-95. Freddie Peralta the win. Caleb Smith the loss. Josh Hader the save. They are now tied with the Chicago Cubs for the 2nd wild card in the National League. Gio Gonzalez, 4 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts, ERA 4.01. Caleb Smith, 5 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, ERA 4.13. Royals over the White Sox 6-3. The Royals are 55-92. Chicago 64-82. Jorge Lopez the win. Lucas Giolito the loss. Ian Kennedy the save. Lopez 5 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 6.09. Giolito, 6 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, a walk, 12 strikeouts, ERA 3.41. Cardinals over the Rockies, 10-3. The Cardinals with the big wins, 82-64. Colorado, 62-85. Miles Mikolas the win, and Tim Melville the loss. Miles Mikolas, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, a walk, 5 strikeouts, ERA 4.28. Melville, 3 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout, ERA 5.16. Cubs over the Padres, 4-1. The Cubs 78-68, San Diego 68-78. Yu Darvish to win, Daniel Lamet the loss. Darvish, 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts, ERA 3.97. He's really has turned his season around, and I'm not ready to say his Cubs career around because he really was terrible last season to the point where everybody thought that that was a bust free agent signing. So I'm not really ready to say Cubs career unless he gets it done in the playoffs. Lamet, 5 innings, 4 hits, 0 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, ERA 4.06. Pirates over the Giants 4-2. Pittsburgh 65-82. San Francisco 70-77. Joe Musgrove the win. Jeff Samardzija the loss. Felipe Vasquez the save. Musgrove 5 innings, 4 hits, no runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts, ERA 4.52. Samardzija 6 in the third innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, a walk, 2 strikeouts, ERA 3.72. Yankees over the Tigers 6-4. Game 2. The Yankees 97-51. Detroit 43-102. Domingo Germán the win. Stephen Turnbull the loss. Aroldis Chapman the save. CC Sabathia started this game 3 in the third innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, ERA 4.95. Domingo Germán out of the bullpen, 4 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, ERA 4.09. He's actually tied, I believe, with Justin Verlander for the big league lead in wins this season. He's now been moved to the bullpen because of innings and the returns of Jordan Montgomery and Luis Severino, so Germán was pushed back to the bullpen. But for good reason, though, because a guy that was very promising in his rookie season and was okay in the beginning of 2018 before he had Tommy John surgeries coming back, and then the ace of the staff and Luis Severino, who Germán kind of pitched like a poor man's version of Severino for parts of the season, but Severino's obviously the more talented pitcher. So he comes back Tuesday against the Angels. So Germán's going to be a really nice, valuable weapon out of the bullpen, and that improves their pitching staff immediately, even though their offense was a little diminished with the 2 injuries yesterday, and they lost Sanchez in this game due to a groin injury, so he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. He'll be back hopefully before the start of the playoffs. So the Yankee offense gets worse. Meanwhile, their pitching, their biggest weakness of the team, gets better. The Red Sox defeat the Blue Jays 7-4. Boston 77-70. Toronto 57-90. Getting the win for Boston was Josh Taylor. Clay Buchholz lost. Brendan Workman the save. Jhoulys Chacin started as the opener again and was very good. 2 2/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, ERA of 0 as a member of the Red Sox. Clay Buchholz against his former team, 4 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, a walk, 4 strikeouts, ERA 5.63. Phillies over the Braves 9-5, a big win for Philadelphia, 76-70. So they're now 2 back in the wild card. Atlanta 97-57 or 91-57. Jared Hughes the win. Julio Teheran the loss. Hector Neris the save. Teheran 4 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and the strikeout ERA 3.5. Drew Smiley 4 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, a walk, 6 strikeouts, ERA 4.14. Dodgers over the Orioles 4-2. Dodgers 95-53. Baltimore 47-99. Tony Gonsolin the win. Dylan Bundy the loss. Kenley Jansen the save. Rich Hill 2/3 of an inning, no hits and a run, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 2.68. He left in this game due to a MCL strain, so that's not very good. And he struggled in his start too, so he might be done for the season. But I think the Dodgers can overcome that loss because they have the depth to do it. They just moved Kenta Maeda back in the rotation. So you have Maeda, you have Ryu, Kershaw, Buehler, and those are going to be your 4 for the playoffs. And the talented rookie Dustin May coming out of the bullpen. Dylan Bundy, 5 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 4.99, so his ERA is now under 5. Nats over the Twins 12-6. The Nats are 81-64, Minnesota 89-57. Patrick Corbin the win, Kyle Gibson the loss. Corbin with the quality start, 6 innings, 9 hits, 3 runs, 1 walks, 3 strikeouts, ERA 3.2. Kyle Gibson, 4 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, ERA 4.73. Rangers over the Rays 6-4. The Rangers 74-74. Tampa 87-61. Luke Farrell the win. Brendan McKay the loss. Jose Leclerc the save. Story of this game: the Rays tragic number for the AL East drops to 5. So any Yankee win and Ray loss contributes now to the magic number. It's down to 5. So the Yankees could have the AL East in theory wrapped up by Sunday if Tampa loses the next couple and the Yankees win the next couple. So keep an eye out for AL East clinch watch, because that might be the second team to clinch a playoff spot. Obviously, the Dodgers clinched one the other day, and they celebrated a little too much and got their asses kicked by the Orioles. So whenever the Yankees clinch the AL East, bet against them the next day. So, because we saw that with the Dodgers the other day against the dreadful Baltimore Orioles. So back to this game. Brendan McKay, 3-38, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 5.27. Colby Allard, 4 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, with a strikeout ERA 4.34. Athletics over the Astros 3-2. The Astros look like that they won't be clinching their division anytime soon, as Oakland keeps playing a little bit of AL West spoiler here to keep the magic number or whatever it is for Houston, so the Yankees might clinch before Houston. Oakland 87-60, Houston 95-53. Homer Bailey to win, Justin Verlander lost, Liam Hendricks to save. Bailey 5 in a third innings, 3 hits and a run, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, rate 4.76. He's turned it around with the Athletics, had the 2 good starts against the Yankees, now pitches well against the Astros. Justin Verlander 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts, ERA 2.58, a quality start, but just didn't get the run support that he needed. Reds over the Mariners 11-5, Cincinnati 68-79, Seattle 60-87. Sal Romano to win, and the loss for Seattle was Dan Altavilla. Tyler Mahle started 3 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts for a 5.11. Justin Dunn was not very good. 37 pitches, 2/3 of an inning, 2 runs, and 5 walks, no strikeouts, no hits. So he just walked too many guys. His ERA is an ugly 27. So not a fine big league debut for Justin Dunn. All right, today's games at 4 o'clock. You have the Pirates at the Cubs from Wrigley. Stephen Brault against John Lester. 7 o'clock, Braves Nationals. Mike Soroka and Max Scherzer. Yankees Blue Jays. Masahiro Tanaka and Anthony Kay. Obviously, Kay was the ex-Mets prospect who they got in return for Marcus Stroman. Orioles Tigers, the battle of the 2 worst teams in the league. Aaron Brooks and Jordan Zimmerman. Dodgers Mets. Clayton Kershaw and Noah Syndergaard. That's a sexy pitching matchup there. Twins Indians. Jake Odorizzi and Aaron Savali. 8 o'clock, Athletics Rangers. Chris Bassett and Brian Burke. Astros Royals at 8:15. Garrett Cole and Danny Duffy. Brewers Cardinals. Adrian Hauser and Adam Wainwright. 8:40, Padres Rockies. Joey Lucchesi and Jeff Hoffman. 9:40, Reds Diamondbacks. Luis Castillo and Mike Leake. So Leake's pitching against one of his former employers. 10 o'clock, Rays Angels. Charlie Morton and Andrew Heaney. White Sox Mariners. Dylan Covey and Yusei Kikuchi. And 10:15, Marlins Giants. You have Sandy Alcantara and Tyler Beede. Okay, FIBA World Cup. I'm going to look at today's and yesterday's results and look ahead to tomorrow and Sunday's games, and I'm going to pick the title game. Some of the classification games from yesterday: Serbia over US 94-89. A bad World Cup for the United States, no question about it. It's a failure that they didn't win in my mind. Granted, they didn't have Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, or James Harden. So that's part of why. And all those guys have to be back for the Olympics in my mind if they are a lock to win the gold medal in the Olympics next year. And then Czech Republic over Poland 94-84. As Czech Republic will play Serbia for 5th place tomorrow, and U.S. will play Poland. I think that Czech Republic will beat Serbia, and I think that U.S. will beat Poland. And I just think that Serbia has a chance to win, obviously, but I just have a feeling there's a little bit of an upset there. All right, today, Argentina over France 80-66 as Argentina moves on to the championship game. Spain over Australia 95-88 as Spain moves on. 3rd place game will be France against Australia on Sunday. I am going to take Australia here to win. They really have impressed me in this tournament a lot. As Spain has too, but I just think that Argentina is the better team here. And I just feel like that they're on some magical run right now. Although Spain has Marc Gasol, I get it, and he's the best player on the court for Sunday. But I just have a feeling here about Argentina, who have been on a magical run here in this tournament. Luis Scola's played well. A bunch of other guys have really stepped up as well. So I'm calling for some upsets here. I'm going to take Argentina over Spain in the final on Sunday. WNBA second round is on Sunday as well. You have the Sparks hosting the Storm, and you have the Aces hosting the Chicago Sky. So, the first game on the docket is, I believe, the Sparks game. Yes, the Sparks game is first, 3 o'clock on ESPN2, and then Sky Aces is the 5 o'clock game. So, the first game, obviously, like I just mentioned, you have the Storm at the Sparks. The Storm really did a nice job. Jordan Canada was the best player on the court in that game on Wednesday night. And then in the Sparks, you have a boatload of talent on the roster, such as Candace Parker and Nneka Ogwumike and Chelsea Gray. Those are great players. And then on the other side, you have Canada. You have, obviously, Jewel Lloyd. And they're big too. It's unfortunate that Sue Bird and Brianna Stewart aren't around, because those are two of the best players in the world. And they'll obviously be missed in this spot. If they had those two players, obviously, I'd absolutely be on the Storm here. But, good God, I'm not a Derek Fisher fan whatsoever. Yes, the Sparks are 22-12. But I just absolutely don't like Derek Fisher as a basketball coach. And that's probably just me being a Knicks fan that thought he was terrible with the Knicks. But he's a bad basketball coach. But the two Ogwumikes and Candace Parker will lead them to the win here at home. And they'll move on to take on the Connecticut Sun in the next round. All right, the 5 o'clock game, you have the Aces hosting the Sky. Bill Laimbeer's the coach of the Aces. He's a great coach, one of the best coaches in the league. Liz Cambridge, Kayla McBride, they have some talent on that team. Aja Wilson, Jackie Young. And on the Chicago side, you have their great big three. Allie Quigley. You have Diamond DeShields, who was excellent in that playoff game. And you have Courtney Vandersloot. James Wade was the deserving Coach of the Year winner. This is going to be a fantastic game, and I think this is going to be the best game of the first two rounds of the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Aces here at home. I think Laimbeer's the better coach. I think that the Aces have more talent. It's going to be a very close game. I think it could be a 3-point game. It could come down to the last shot. It's going to be fun. But give me the Aces at home to advance to take on Elena Delle Donne and the Washington Mystics. Although Chicago against Elena Delle Donne would be interesting for obvious reasons. Alrighty. College football week 3. It's here. It's finally here. I'm going to do my picks with the lines courtesy of DraftKings. Alright. North Carolina, Wake Forest. North Carolina was a 3-point dog. Now it's down to 3.5. I love it. I absolutely love it. Not only do I love the plus 3.5, I love them on the money line to win outright. Money line's plus 118. So giving North Carolina to cover the 3.5 and to win outright as a 3.5 point underdog. Kansas at Boston College tonight at 7:30. Boston College is favored by 20.5. The over-under is 50.5. And by the way, the over-under, the North Carolina weight game is 66, but they just took it off the board. So Boston College is a team that I don't think is that great. And obviously Kansas is a dumpster fire. So the logical pick would to take Boston College minus the 20.5. I love the over 50.5. I initially got it at 53, but it went down a couple points. So I love the over in this Kansas-BC game. But obviously I think that Boston College will win the game. Wazoo against Houston. Wazoo's laying 9.5, the over under 73.5. This game is obviously being played in NRG Stadium in Houston. I think Washington State's a solid team in the Pac-12, but this was a team that I thought would regress from last season. Meanwhile, Houston is not as bad as it showed against Oklahoma in the opener. I'm going to take the Houston Cougars, not to cover the 9.5, but I'm taking them to win the game outright at plus 285. So again, Houston plus 9.5, plus 285 on the money line. I think Houston wins outright by a score of like 40-36. Saturday, you have Georgia hosting Arkansas State. Georgia is laying 33 points. The over-under is 58. Georgia has Notre Dame next week, in case you didn't know. Obviously, game day will probably be there with two marquee brand teams in Notre Dame and Georgia. So I could see a little bit of a look ahead here for Georgia. So I'm going to take, obviously, the Bulldogs to win the game. But I'm going to take Arkansas State to cover the big number at 33. I love that play. And I got it at the half. So, obviously, the public is with me here. And the over-under is 58. Ohio State at Indiana. Ohio State's laying 18. The over-under is 60. I'm going to take the Ohio State Buckeyes to win this game, and I think they'll cover the 18. They are a significantly better team than Indiana. I got Ohio State at 15.5, so the line obviously went up a couple points, and the public is agreeing with me. North Carolina State is at Morgantown this week. The Mountaineers are getting 6.5. The over-under is 45.5. The Mountaineers were dreadful last week against Missouri. NC State has looked great these first 2 weeks, but they played against some overrated AAC team in East Carolina, a team that I now think is a little overrated, and a bad team in the FCS. I forget who that was. So I'm going to take the Mountaineers here to cover the 6.5, but I do think that NC State wins the game. I think it's going to be like a 27-23 NC State victory. I just think that you're getting some value here at the Mountaineers getting 6.5. Like I said, NC State wins, West Virginia covers. Maryland at Temple. Maryland's laying 7, the over-under 67. A lot of people like Temple as a hot underdog, and people like them to win outright because people are saying Maryland's overrated because Syracuse is overrated. They have Penn State next week. They're looking ahead, the following week. So they have the bye before Penn State. Listen, Maryland's good. When I had Nick Costos on my podcast, I think it was about 5 weeks ago, I gave him the Maryland over as one of my picks as we went through our over-under game with the college win totals when we did the Big Ten. And I don't think Temple is a good team this year, or at least not as good as past years. So I'm going to take Maryland -7 as my play here. And I think that it's a barely cover. Like, I could see them winning 33-23 or 33-24, something like that. So, I'm going to take Maryland to win the game and cover the 7. And by the way, it was at 7.5. It went down a half point because everybody loves Temple. Miami of Ohio at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's laying 17. The over-under is 49.5. I am going to take the under in this game. I had it at 49. It went up to 49.5. So the public kind of disagrees with me. And I like that it went up. So I feel like I'm getting value here at the under of Miami of Ohio, Cincinnati. I'm going to take Cincinnati to win the game, obviously. But I could see a world where Cincinnati wins like 34-14. And that would just barely be an under for me. Pittsburgh at Penn State. Penn State's laying 17.5. The over-under is 53. I love Penn State here. Love them. Love them. Like, I love them so much here. I think they're going to cover that 17.5 easily here. I also like the over in this game, which I had got at 54, but it dropped to 53. But I just feel better about Penn State covering than I do about this total going over. So I'm going to take Penn State to win this game and cover the 17.5. Eastern Michigan at Illinois. Illinois is laying 7. The over-under is 55. A lot of people like Eastern Michigan. This was a 9-point spread that dropped to 7. I think this game screams push, so I'm not going to pick a side. I think Illinois will win the game. But my play here is over 55. This did not move one bit. I think Illinois is a team that can score some points against vulnerable defenses, which Eastern Michigan's is. So I'm going to say Illinois wins like a shootout type of game. Like maybe like a 30-26 type of game. And that's where Eastern Michigan can get their backdoor cover or something. So give me Illinois to win the game over 55 as my play. Furman at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's laying 21.5. The over-under is 64.5. Virginia Tech has not been great thus far yet this year, offensively. But Furman, I don't think's a good team. Really, they're not. I mean, they've been ranked a few times here and there in the FCS, but I just think that Virginia Tech's more superior here, and that's why I mean that Furman's not all that great. I just don't think that there is a team that could be competitive for Virginia Tech. That's all. My play here is going to be under 64.5. Like I said, I don't think Virginia Tech's all that great offensively, and they're a team that is very solid defensively despite its poor showing against Boston College on that side of the ball. So I'm going to say that Virginia Tech wins this game in the realms of like 35-20 or something like that. And even that can work for an under. Chattanooga and Tennessee. Tennessee's laying 28. The over-under is 51.5. I'm going to take Chattanooga getting the points. I just don't think Tennessee should be favored by that many points against anybody, especially if you lost at home to Georgia State. That's all. So Tennessee wins, but I'm going to say they win like maybe 30-10 or something like that. So that's where Chattanooga can come in and cover. Mississippi State hosts Kansas State. The Bulldogs are laying 7.5. The over-under is 52. Everyone and their brother loves the Wildcats this week as an underdog that can win outright. I just think that the Wildcats have played much inferior competition. I need to see it to believe it from them, and maybe that's the surprise Big 12 team this year that can potentially make a bowl instead of West Virginia, like I thought before the season. So, maybe Kansas State can show us a little something here. But anyway, my pick here, straight up, will be the Bulldogs. I think that despite the injury to Tommy Stevens, I think that defense can get enough stops and they can make some big plays offensively that they could win this game. I'm going to take the over here. Like I said, Kansas State's been putting up some points. I think they'll put up some points here, but I just don't know how many stops Kansas State will get as they're actually going up against a better offense here with the Spartans, despite the quarterback not being healthy. So I could see Mississippi State winning this game like 33-27, and that can work for me for an over. Next up, you have Georgia Tech hosting the Citadel. The Citadel is getting 26. The over-under is 57.5. The Citadel is obviously one of the worst teams in the FCS. Georgia Tech's one of the worst teams in the Power 5. I like the over here, 57.5. I just think the Citadel sucks defensively, and I think that Georgia Tech, for the first time this season, will put up a good offensive showing here. And I could see the Citadel put up some points here and there. I just think Georgia Tech probably wins this game like 40-20 or something like that. And that could be an over for me. Next up, you have Colorado hosting Air Force. Colorado's favored by 3.5. The over-under is 59. There are some people that like Air Force here to pull off the upset. I'm not one of those people. I love the Buffaloes here. I think this is the steal pick of the week. I don't remember who my steal pick of the week last week was, but I know my week 1 steal pick of the week came through. It was FIU and Tulane, and I laid 2.5 with Tulane against FIU, and Tulane blew out FIU. So this, I think, can be a similar situation here. I think Colorado's going to blow the doors off of Air Force. I think Colorado's a much better team than given credit for. Yeah, their defense stinks, but I think that their offense is going to score on Air Force. So, give me Colorado here to win this game, perhaps by double digits. Next up, you have Ball State hosting Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic's laying 2.5, the over-under 64.5. I'm going to take Florida Atlantic to win the game and cover the 2.5. I just think FAU is better than Ball State. If Ball State can pull this off somehow, then we might have to start taking Ball State seriously as a surprise bowl team from the MAC. But I'm going to take Florida Atlantic here to cover the 2.5. They'll bounce back from their loss against UCF. And I also like the over in this game. It was at 67 and it dropped to 64.5. So I absolutely love the over in this game too. But my main play here is Florida Atlantic minus 2.5 against Ball State. Next up, Coastal Carolina hosts Norfolk State. Coastal is laying 27 points. The over-under is 48.5. I'm going to take Norfolk State here to cover the 27. I got it at 27.5. I just think that Coastal Carolina shouldn't be this big of a favorite over anybody. Coastal Carolina is not a terrible team, but they shouldn't be favored by more than 20 points against anyone. So, I'm going to say that Coastal wins this game, maybe like a 38-20 type of situation, and that really is 18 points. So, I think Norfolk State getting to 27 is a good play, but Coastal Carolina obviously wins the game. Next up, Notre Dame hosts New Mexico. New Mexico is getting 35, the over-under 63. Notre Dame has to play in Athens next week against Georgia. They're obviously looking ahead. So give me New Mexico plus 35. I got it at 34.5. I like it even better at 35. I think Notre Dame obviously wins, but the Lobos, I think, will cover, and I think Notre Dame wins by 20. Akron against Central Michigan. Central Michigan is laying 1. The over-under is 44.5. I'm going to take Akron to win this game. I initially was going to take Central Michigan, but I was talked into Akron and how Central Michigan is playing some backups here. They've had some significant injuries, so I'm going to take Akron getting the one on the road when they can win this one outright and bounce back from their loss against UAB. But my play here is the over 44.5. I know the number went down from 46.5 because of the injuries for Central Michigan. But I think that both of these teams obviously suck defensively. So I'm going to say that Akron wins this game like 30-23. And I think it's competitive too. I think Central Michigan keeps this competitive. So give me Akron to win the game, but over 44.5 is my play. Next up, UCF hosts Stanford. UCF minus 8.5. The over-under 60.5. Stanford obviously its best offensive lineman for the season. They get KJ Casilla back this week. UCF has been very impressive to me. In terms of a side, this is tough. Or a total or a side. I'm going to take the under 60.5. I just think that Stanford's defense is actually pretty good. And despite it imploding against USC last week, I just think that it'll be a little better against UCF. I'm going to say that UCF probably wins this game like 30-20, and that would really put a good under bet here. And I really don't love Stanford's offense either, so that's part of my under pick here. So UCF wins the game, but my play here is under 60.5. Alabama at South Carolina. Alabama is laying 25.5. The over-under 61.5. I like the over 61.5. I got it at 60, went up 1.5 points. I just think that Tua Tagovailoa, Jerry Jeudy, Najee Harris will put up a number against South Carolina's defense. And hey, I think South Carolina will score on Bama. Like, I could see them putting up 20 in this game. And obviously, I think Bama's going to put up 45. So my projected score here is 45-20 Alabama. So that obviously would mean South Carolina covers in the over. But I love the over in this game more than I do laying 25.5 with Bama. But if I had to pick a side, it's Bama. But if I had to pick a total, it's the over. And I like the total better. So give me the over 61.5 for Alabama, South Carolina. Alabama obviously wins the game on the field. East Carolina, Navy. Navy's laying 7.5. The over-under is 53.5. I think Navy wins the game, but I'm taking East Carolina getting the 7.5. East Carolina, to me, has been disappointing early on. They no-showed against NC State, and then they beat an FCS school. I think they'll be competitive here against their conference rivals. I just don't think that Navy should be this big of a favorite over anybody. I think this line should be like 4. And I think Navy wins this game by like 4. So I'm going to say it's like a 38-34 Navy victory. So give me East Carolina plus 7.5, but Navy wins on the field. USC and BYU. USC's laying 40, over-unders 56. USC's new quarterback really showed me something last week against Stanford. The line was at 4.5. It's dropped to 4 because a lot of people like BYU as an outright underdog. Not me. I love USC. BYU should have lost to Tennessee last week. I think that USC's winning this game by double digits. So give me USC minus 4. I think the new quarterback will come out and play well again. And Clay Helton survives yet another week. So give me USC minus 4 against BYU. By the way, the total in this game is 56. And the total in the East Carolina Navy game, if I didn't say it earlier, was 53.5. Georgia Southern and Minnesota. Minnesota's favored by 16. The over-under is 45. I'm going to take Minnesota laying the 16. I initially got it at 15.5, but it went up a half point. I'm taking Minnesota here. I don't think they've looked all that great the first 2 weeks. They almost lost to FCS school South Dakota State, and then they probably should have lost to Fresno last week, but they held on and won. So I think this is going to be Minnesota's best performance yet. I think a lot of people like Georgia Southern in this spot, but I'm going to go contrarian here and take Minnesota minus 16 against Georgia Southern. UNLV Northwestern. Northwestern's favored by 17.5. The over-under is 53. I like UNLV getting the points. I got it at 19.5. It's dropped to 17.5. I'm still taking UNLV in the points. I just think Northwestern's going to peek ahead a little bit. Northwestern, for some reason, never really does well as a big favorite against some of these MAC and Mountain West and AAC schools. For whatever reason it is, and they always seem to thrive as like a home underdog against teams like Stanford, for whatever reason that is. But anyway, give me New UNLV getting the 17.5. I do think Northwestern will win the game, though. The total in this game is 53. I don't know what to make of the total, but Northwestern wins, UNLV covers the 17.5. And if I didn't mention the total in the Minnesota-Georgia Southern game, it is 45. Memphis and South Alabama. Memphis is laying 18.5. The over-under is 55.5. For some reason, the total went down. I bet the over at 57.5 and went down 2 points. But I really, really like the over 55.5. Memphis is an offensive machine, and their defense to me kind of isn't very good. So give me the over in this game, and I think Memphis can put up their number against South Alabama. I think this is like a 38-20 type of ball game here. Oklahoma State at Tulsa. Tulsa's getting 14. The over-under is 64. I'm going to take the Cowboys minus the 14. Tulsa's one of the worst teams in the AAC this year. And Oklahoma State, to me, is an underrated team in the Big 12 that I think can make some noise later in the season. So give me Oklahoma minus the 14 against Tulsa. I think they win by 3 touchdowns. It's 2 touchdowns, but I think they win by 3 touchdowns. And I do like the over, by the way, too. I got it at 65.5, but it dropped to 64. But I would take the over, too. But my main play here is the Cowboys minus 14. Army and UTSA. Army's laying 17. The over-under is 44.5. I like the under here. I initially had it at 45. I like it at 44.5, too. So, give me the under in Army UTSA. I think Army can win this game like 30-7 or something like that. I think they could have a potential hangover in this game. That's part of why I like the under, but also Army plays great defense. And their unders seem to come through all the time. So, give me Army straight up, but under 44.5 against UTSA. Arizona State and Michigan State. Sparty's laying 14.5. The over-under is 42. I love Sparty, and I love them so much that this could be one of my best plays of the weekend. So I got it at 13.5 and went up a point, so Vegas agrees with me. So I'm laying the 14.5 with Sparty, and I think that they can win this game by 30. Iowa State. The Cyclones are getting 2.5. The over-under is 42.5. This line was at 2.5. It dropped to 2. I agree with Vegas. I love the Cyclones. I got them at 2.5. They're plus 107 on the money line. I actually got them at minus 103 on the money line, but I like it even better on the money line at plus 107. This is one of my favorite money line picks of the week. So give me Iowa State for a nice statement win, as game day is in Ames this week. So give me Iowa State plus 2. They'll win this game outright. I'm going to say they win by a score of like 30-24. I love Matt Campbell's team in this spot. Colorado State at Arkansas. Arkansas's laying 10.5. The over-under 63.5. I like the over in this game. I got it at 60 and went up to 63.5, and I still love it at that number. I just think this is a shootout. Both teams stink defensively. I think Arkansas wins the game, but my player is over 63.5. Louisville, Western Kentucky. Louisville favored by 10. The over-under is 50.5. This game's being played in Nashville at the Titan Stadium. And this is another over I like. It's at 50.5. I got it at 51.5. It dropped the point for whatever reason. But I just think that both of these teams are going to score a lot of points in this game, but Louisville will win the game ultimately. And by the way, that spread's at 10. I think that could be a push. Bethune-Cookman at Miami. Miami's laying 41. The over-under is 56. I like the under 56 as my play here. I think Miami can win this game like 40-0, and it could still be under. So Miami wins, but my play here is under 56. Ole Miss is hosting Southeastern Louisiana. They're laying 31. The over-under is 53. I'm taking Ole Miss to cover the 31. I just think that their offense is going to be humming, and Rich Rod really did some interesting things last week against Arkansas. I just think that unit's going to get better. And their defense showed me something in both their games against Memphis, slowing that good offense down. And they shut down a SEC offense in Arkansas. Granted, it's not a good offense in Arizona for an SEC team. So give me Ole Miss to put up a nice number here on Southeastern Louisiana. I think that they can obviously cover the spread, but potentially go over the total by themselves. But I don't know if they'll do that. I could see Ole Miss winning this game like 40-7. Next up, you have Cal hosting North Texas. Cal's minus 14. The over-under is 50.5. A lot of people like North Texas as a outright upset because obviously Cal upset Washington and everyone's saying a letdown spot. But I like Cal here a lot to win the game on the field. But my play here is the under 50.5. I got it at 51. I went down to 50.5. Cal plays good defense, and that's what I believe in terms of the under. Although North Texas has a good offense. But you know who else has a good offense? Washington. Washington's offense is better than North Texas's offense. I love the under 50.5 in this game, and I think Cal wins the game. Idaho State and Utah. Utah's laying 36.5. The over-under is 64. I'm going to take the under here. Utah plays great defense, and I think that they can win this game like 40-7 or something like that. So give me the under 64 in Idaho State, Utah. Cal Poly, Oregon State. Oregon State's laying 16.5. The over-under is 76. I'm going to take the under again. I think Oregon State gets their first win here, but I just don't think that they're going to score that many points. Even a 50 to 10 type of game, 50 to 20, and that's still the under. So give me the under of Oregon State, Cal Poly here. Next up, you have Bowling Green hosting Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech's laying 11.5. The over-under is 58.5. Guess what? I'm taking my fourth under in a row. I just think that Bowling Green is a team that is not very good offensively. And I don't think Louisiana Tech is a great offense either, and they are a team that plays good defense. So I like the under in this game a lot. And again, the number is at 58.5, and that's my play for that game. Idaho, Wyoming. Wyoming laying 25. The over-under 53. I'm taking another under. This is insane how many unders I'm taking this week. I got it at 55, but I'll play it at 53 as well. I can see Wyoming winning this game like 30-10, so that would still mean an under in this spot. Buffalo at Liberty. Buffalo's laying 5.5. The over-under is 55.5. I am going to take Liberty getting 5.5. I got it at 4.5, and I think Liberty wins the game outright. They're plus 175 on the money line. So Liberty wins the game on the field, and they're getting 5.5. I'm taking it. Finally, Hugh Freeze gets his first win at Liberty. And I just think Buffalo's overrated this year. UMass and Charlotte. Charlotte's laying 21. The over-under is 66.5. A lot of people like Charlotte. They're actually a 19-point favorite. Went up to 21. I think that could be a push. So instead, I'm going to go with over 66.5. I think Charlotte's a great offensive team, an improved offensive team, but I don't think they're improved defensively, and that's why I like the over at 66.5. It was 68.5, but it dropped a couple points. So I'm going to say over 66.5. I think Charlotte can win this game. What'd be an interesting score? Like 40-27? Yeah, that would work for me. Troy hosting Southern Miss. Troy's laying 2.5. The over-under is 49. I'm taking Troy minus the 2.5. I think that it's one of the better plays of the week. Troy's one of the best teams in the Sun Belt, although they have a new coach. And Southern Miss is a good CUSA team, but I just don't like the spot for them here. So I'm going to say Troy wins and covers the 2.5. South Florida's laying 24.5 against South Carolina State. The over-under is 49.5. I'm going to take South Carolina State to cover the number. South Florida will win the game, obviously, but I just think that's too big of a number. They've looked inept offensively the first 2 weeks, so give me South Carolina State to cover the 24.5 here against South Florida. Next up, you have Marshall hosting Ohio. Marshall's favored by 5.5. The over-under is 49. I think Marshall wins the game, but I'm going to take Ohio getting to 5.5. I just think this is a close game. Arguably the best team in the MAC against one of the best teams in CUSA. Ohio, that wasn't a good performance last week against Pitt. I had them winning outright. That hurt my feelings a little bit. I think they rebound a little bit here and are more competitive this week, but I just don't think that they win this game against Marshall. So Give me Ohio getting 5.5, but Marshall wins the game on the field. Florida against Kentucky. Kentucky's getting 8.5 without its starting quarterback. The over-under is 47.5. If Kentucky had their quarterback, I'd pick them to win on the field here, but that's not the case. So I'm picking Florida straight up, but the play here is the under. I got it at 50. It dropped to 47.5. So give me the under 47.5. I don't love Felipe Franks, but I do love the Florida defense to make some stops here. I think Florida wins this game like 27-17 or something like that. That would work for an under. Kent State against Auburn. Auburn's laying 36 points. The over-under is 54. I love the over here. I think that Auburn's going to put up a good number on Kent State, who stinks defensively. I got it at 52. It's up to 54. I think Auburn can cover this number by themselves. Yes, their offense really didn't do much against Tulane, but that was more of kind of a letdown spot after that big win over Oregon. But I think they'll perform better offensively here and perhaps cover the over alone. So give me the over in the Kent State-Auburn game, and obviously Auburn wins the game on the field. Georgia State against Western Michigan. Western Michigan's laying 8.5. The over-under is 70. I had Western Michigan at -10. It's down to 8.5. I think they cover that spread easily. I get why people like Georgia State. It's because they upset Tennessee, but Georgia State to me is not a good team, and I think that result in week 1 was more about Tennessee stinking rather than Georgia State being improved. Don't get me wrong, Georgia State's improved, but I don't think that they're going to get another big upset here. So give me Western Michigan here to cover the 8.5, and I think they win this game by perhaps 3 touchdowns. I just think they're that much better than Georgia State. Duke against Middle Tennessee. Duke's laying 6.5. The over-under is 50.5. This was the toughest decision of the week in terms of a play. I think Duke wins the game, but I like, yet again, another under. I just don't think Middle Tennessee is all that great offensively, and Duke's defense isn't terrible, although it wasn't good against Alabama. It was good for a half against Alabama, but it was just a half when Alabama's star running back was suspended. But other than the Alabama second half, their defense has actually been pretty solid. So I actually like the under in this game, and I can see a world where Duke wins like 28 to, let's say, 28 to 20 can do it for me. And that would land at 48. So give me the under 50.5, and Duke obviously to win the game on the field. Texas State and SMU. Texas State's getting 17.5 on the road. The over-under is 62. I'm going to take the over here. I initially had it at 59.5 earlier in the week. It's up to 62. I still love the over. SMU is going to put up a number on Texas State. So give me the over in Texas State SMU at 62. And I think SMU can win this game like 50-17, and that would still work for me. Toledo's hosting Murray State. Toledo's laying 38.5. The over-under 70. I'm taking Toledo to cover the big number, and I think that Toledo is a good team in the MAC, and I just think that they're going to cover the big number against Murray State, who I'm not a fan of in college football. Texas A&M hosts Lamar. A&M's laying 43.5. The over-under is 63. A&M's going to kick ass here. I think it's a classic bounce-back spot for the Aggies. Kellen Mond will put up his numbers against the Swiss Cheese defense and Lamar's. So give me Texas A&M minus 43.5, and I think they can win this game like 55-0. New Hampshire at Florida International. FIU's laying 9.5. The over-under is 43.5. I am going to take the over in this game. I just think that FIU is bound to have a good performance offensively after 2 offensive duds against Tulane in the opener and then again in their loss against Western Kentucky. I think they're going to put up a nice offensive round number, like a 35 perhaps against New Hampshire. I can see this game being 35-17, and that would easily go over. So give me the over in New Hampshire FIU as the play here. Weber State at Nevada. Nevada's laying 9. The over-under is 51.5. I'm taking Nevada to win the game, obviously, but I'm taking Weber State to cover. Weber State covered a single-digit number that had me scratching my head when they played San Diego State in Week 1. Weber State's one of the best teams in the FCS. I believe they're number 6 right now in the polls for the FCS. So I think they'll be competitive here against a team that's worse than San Diego State in Nevada. And I just think that San Diego State was just bad in that game, and that's a team that's going to get better as the year goes on. So I think Weber State will cover this number. I just think Nevada will win the game. I could see this being like a 35-31 type of game. So give me Weber State +9, but Nevada on the field. Clemson is at Syracuse. The over-under is 65, and Clemson's laying 28. This is a tough play here. I think the over-under screams push. So I'm going to go to a side. And the side I like is the Syracuse Orange. Clemson against the spread this year is 1-1. I believe that they covered against Georgia Tech, if I'm not mistaken, and I know they did not cover against A&M. I think that this is a 45-20 Clemson win. So that would mean that the Orange would cover the number, right? So give me Syracuse +28 in their home building. I think it's competitive for a little bit, and then Clemson wins by 25. So Clemson wins, Syracuse covers the 28. TCU and Purdue. TCU's laying 2, the over-under is 52.5. I love TCU. This is one of my favorite plays of the week. I'm laying the 2 with the Horned Frogs. They're one of the more underrated teams in the Big 12 with the likes of Oklahoma State and Baylor. So give me TCU -2. The over-under is 52.5. Purdue's missing its starting quarterback, so I think TCU wins this game by double digits. Hawaii at Washington. Washington's laying 21. The over-under is 59. I love the Huskies here in a bounce-back spot against an overrated Hawaii team. Hawaii's 2-0, but they played the 2 worst teams in the Pac-12. Congratulations. And you were home in both of those games. Now you're on the road against a team that needs to rebound here against an inferior team. So give me Washington -21. I think they put up a number on Hawaii. So give me the Huskies -21 against the Rainbow Warriors. One of my favorite games of the week in terms of interest, Florida State at Virginia. This is a big prove-it spot for the Cavaliers, in my opinion. They're laying 7.5. The over-under is 58. I'm going to take the over 58. Earlier in the week, I got it at 57, but it went up a point since I bet it. So I am taking the over 58 in this spot. And I think Virginia wins the game. I think it's a shootout. I think the point spread is right where it should be. Although Florida State getting the 7.5 is enticing because of the hook. But I love the over here. I think the over is a no-brainer lock. Florida State is good offensively, but they stink defensively. Virginia is awesome offensively. Their defense is improved, but how improved is it? I think this game is going to tell a lot because Florida State's a good offensive team. So give me over 58 as my play here with the Cavs winning the game on the field. Missouri hosts Southeast Missouri State. Missouri's favored by 34. The over-under is 67. I'm laying the 34 for Missouri. They looked excellent last week against West Virginia. I think they're going to put up another good number against Southeast Missouri State, who's not a bad FCS team, by the way. But I just think Missouri's way talented, and especially on the offensive side of the ball with Kelly Bryant at quarterback. So I'm going to say Missouri covers that 34 points. Texas Southern, Louisiana, Lafayette. ULL's -47. The over-under 75. I like the under here. I just think that Texas Southern's inept offensively, and UL Lafayette is a team that's actually not terrible defensively in terms of this spot and them being home. And, hey, their defense actually has been pretty solid this year in their 2 games that they've played. One was against a good team. I think it was Mississippi State that they held them to like a somewhat surprising number. So I really like the under here, and I think if ULL wins like 50-7, obviously that's an under, and I think that's a really realistic score for this game. So give me the under 75 here. LSU against Northwestern State. LSU's laying 51. We don't have a total for you, so I'm going to lay to 51 with the Tigers here. I just think that they're going to put up a number here against Northwestern State. Next up, you have UCLA hosting Oklahoma. Oklahoma's laying 23.5. The over-under 72. I love the Sooners here. I got them at 23, went up to 23.5. I still love them. They're going to win this game like 50-20, and Chip Kelly's going to get embarrassed, and all the LA outlets are going to be calling for Chip Kelly to get fired. So give me Oklahoma minus the 23.5, and I think the over is potentially in play, but like I said, I have this score at 50-20, so that would qualify as an under. And I just think the quarterback for UCLA sucks as well. So give me Oklahoma minus the 23.5. They're going to cream them, and Jalen Hurts will continue to make a strong case for the Heisman Trophy. Next up is New Mexico State hosting San Diego State. San Diego State laying 16. The over-under is 50.5. I'm going to take San Diego State minus the 16. I think New Mexico State stinks, and San Diego State is better than what they showed, even in both of their games. And I actually picked them to beat UCLA outright last week as a pretty big underdog. So I like San Diego State to put up a good fight here against a bad New Mexico State team. So give me the Aztecs minus 16 here on the road. Texas against Rice. Texas is laying 32. The over-under is 55.5. I love the over, and I think Texas will hit it by themselves, potentially. I got it at 56.5, and it dropped to 55.5. Rice stinks defensively. They're missing their starting quarterback. Texas, meanwhile, really showed against LSU last week, who is among the best defensive teams in the country, that their offense really is this good. So I think that they can over by themselves in this game. I can see Texas winning like 60-17. Like, I'm not even kidding. They're going to hit the over by themselves. So give me Texas here to win the game. But my play here as one of my locks of the week is the over 55.5. And this game, by the way, being played from Houston. Next up, you have Nebraska hosting Northern Illinois. Nebraska's laying 14. The over-under is 54.5. I'm going to take Nebraska minus the 14. Classic bounce-back spot for the Cornhuskers, Adrian Martinez and Scott Frost. And I think they're going to put up a good show here. Even though there's talk about them looking ahead to Ohio State, which could be possible. It's really true. They could be looking ahead here, but I just think that they're going to cover the 14, and I can see them winning by 20. Tulane hosts Missouri State. Tulane is favored by 31.5. The over-under is 55. I'm going to take the over 55 here. Tulane's a great offensive team, although they didn't show it against Auburn. Granted, Auburn's a very good defensive football team, so that was a good case for an under for Auburn, but I like the over better because Kent State's so bad defensively. Back to this game. Tulane's a good offensive team, and I think that they can put the over by themselves. So give me the over 55 for Missouri and Tulane. Boise State is hosting Portland State. They're laying 31.5. The over-under is 54. Boise State's going to win and cover this game easily. I think that their freshman quarterback's going to rebound after a somewhat disheartening effort offensively. So give me Boise State minus the 31.5 against FCS Portland State. Next up, Arizona hosts Texas Tech. Texas Tech's a 2-point favorite, over under 77. I love the Wildcats getting the 2, and I think they win this game outright. They're plus 110 on the money line, and I think that Arizona is really undervalued in this spot. I had them as a favorite when I made my projected lines. So give me Arizona plus 2. They'll win the game on the field, plus 110 on the money line. Last but not least in college, Oregon, Montana. Oregon's laying 37 against Montana. The over-under 67. It's funny, I like Oregon and the over, and I got them at 36.5 for against the spread and over 64.5 in terms of a total. So both of those went up, and my main play here is the minus 37. I just think they're going to put up a number on Montana like they did against Nevada last week. So Give me Oregon and Justin Herbert minus the 37 at home against Montana. Now we'll switch over to the National Football League. Off to a not-so-great start yet again as Cam Newton and the Panthers let me down. And my play for the game was the -7 because I thought they were going to blow them out. But I was wrong. All right, first up is the Bills against the Giants. The Bills are laying 1.5. The over-under is 44. I'm going to take the Bills to win this game, but my play here is over 44. I got it at 43.5, but went out by half point. Why the over? The Giants stink on defense, and the Bills showed me a little something offensively at the end of that Jets game. So I can see the Bills winning this game like 27-20. I think the Giants will be competitive in this game, although I thought they'd be competitive last week too, but I was wrong. But it's their home opener. I do think that the Bills will cover the number, obviously, but my play here is over 44. So give me Buffalo to win this game by a score of 27-20, over 44 as my play. Seahawks at the Steelers. Steelers laying 3.5. The over-under is 47.5. I love the Steelers. This is a prime bounce-back spot for Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Seahawks are overrated, and they kind of showed that in Week 1 against the Bengals. I thought that the Seahawks were a lock against the Bengals, but I was right straight up. But I just think that the Steelers are just in an excellent spot here, and they're going to win this game by double digits. So give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to cover the 3.5, and I think that they win this game 35-17. Big game for Big Ben. Big game for Juju Smith-Schuster. Big game for James Conner. They're your new triplets. So Steelers win big and cover the 3.5. And I got it at 4, but it went down to 3.5, which was weird to me. Indianapolis at Tennessee. Tennessee's laying 3.5. The over-under is 43.5. I'm taking the Colts to cover this point spread at 3.5, and I like them to win outright. I just think that the Colts have a better roster than the Titans, and I think the Titans are in a classic letdown spot after their big win against the Browns. Delaney Walker's comments were hysterical about who we thought they were kind of thing. Yeah, you're going to really realize that we are who you thought you were, too, as you are going to lose by double digits to Jacoby Brissett and the Indianapolis Colts. So give me the Colts here to win this game by a score of 28-17. I just think that Marcus Mariota is going to regress from last week, and the Colts will really put up together a nice performance here on the road. The Chargers are at the Lions. The Chargers are laying 1.5. The over-under is 48. I love the Chargers. This is a steal. An absolute steal. A lot of people like the Lions here as an underdog. A lot of sharps like them. The Lions are a bad football team, and they showed that in the fourth quarter and in overtime against the Cardinals. So, give me the Chargers to win here by double digits. I think they win this game by 2 touchdowns. Give me Phillip Rivers and the Chargers by a score of 33-19. They win this game by 2 touchdowns. No Melvin Gordon, no problem yet again. And they'll cover that spread easily. Minnesota and the Packers, it went down to 2.5. It was at 3. The over-under is 43. I'm taking the Vikings here to win this game outright and to cover the 2.5. They are plus 123 on the money line. By the way, the Colts are plus 155 on the money line. I do like a lot of dogs this week, and obviously the Colts and the Vikings are 2 of them. I don't think all these dogs realistically might not win outright because it's the NFL. But I certainly think that these dogs will win outright. So give me the Vikings here to win this game with Kirk Cousins. I think they actually win by 3. I'm going to say that the Vikings win this game by a score of 23-20. I'm not touching the over-under because I think that's a lock push. So 23-20, Vikings win it at a field goal on the end of the game where after Kirk Cousins leads them on a nice drive, especially after last year. Remember they tied and Cousins threw that interception? Yeah, so Kirk Cousins' revenge spot here in Green Bay as the Vikings come away with a 23-20 victory on the road. The Cowboys at the Redskins. The Cowboys are laying 6. The over-under is 46.5. I like the Cowboys to win, and I like them to cover. Very contrarian of me. Everybody loves the Redskins, but I'm taking the Cowboys here. -6. I think they win this game by double digits. I think that their defense will play well again. The Redskins will revert back to normal, and there's going to be conversations whether them and not the Giants are the worst team in the NFC East this year. So the Cowboys blow out a division opponent for the second week in a row, and I'm going to say the Cowboys win this game by a score of 38-20. Next up, the Cardinals at the Ravens. The Cardinals are getting 13. The over-under is 46.5. I like the Ravens to win this game on the field, but I'm going to take the under 46.5. I just think that the Ravens are very good defensively, and I really didn't like what I saw of the Cardinals offensively the first 3 quarters of that Lions game. So I'm going to say that the Ravens win this game by a score of, let's see here, 28-16. Does that add up? Yes, it does add up to 44. So 28-16 Baltimore. 49ers, Bengals. Bengals laying a 1.5. The over-under is 45.5. I'm taking the Niners, getting the 1.5. They're plus 104 on the money line. I think the 49ers win outright. I think Jimmy Garoppolo will have a better game. Andy Dalton reverts back to what he really is. So I'm going to say that the 49ers win this game. I think it will be a competitive game. So I'm going to say that the 49ers win this game 24-17. Jacksonville, Houston. Houston's laying 8.5. The over-under is 43.5. I absolutely love the over. Gardner Minshew showed me something last week. And the Texans secondary isn't vaunted. Granted, the Chiefs secondary isn't vaunted either. And you know who else's secondary looked vulnerable a week ago? The Jacksonville Jaguars. You know whose offense looked lights out last week? The Houston Texans. I love the over. I think the Houston Texans will win this ball game for sure. But I love the over. Love it. This is one of my favorite plays of the week in terms of a total. And I think that the Texans will win this game by a score of 30-24. And I think it'll be a competitive football game against these two division rivals. New England and Miami. New England's laying a whopping 18.5. The over-under is 48.5. I'm taking the over, and I think there's a chance the Pats do it by themselves. So give me the over as my play here. I think the Patriots win this game by a score of 45-17. Yes, that's right. And by the way, my survivor pool pick is the Ravens because I want to save the Patriots for another week. So give me the Ravens. It's good to be risky early in survivor pool picks and save the better ones for last. So, obviously the Patriots and the Ravens are two obvious picks for a survivor pool. So, and now the Browns, too, without Sam Darnold. I feel like that's going to be a popular one, too. So, Patriots win this game 45-17, and I absolutely love the over 48 in this game with the Dolphins. The Chiefs at the Raiders. Now we're at the 4 o'clock set. The Raiders are getting 7. The over-under is 53.5. Tough call here. I'm fearing the push. I am fearing the push. So, I like Kansas City -7, but the over to me is the better play. So I'm going to go with the over 53.5 here with the Raiders-Chiefs game. I think the Chiefs will win the game by a score of 38-30. Yes, that's my score, because I really liked what the Raiders did offensively last week. So I think there's a chance of a push, but I love the over 53.5. I think that's a steal. The Broncos are hosting the Bears. The Bears are laying 2.5. The over-under is 40. I love the Broncos getting the 2.5, and I think they win this football game outright. They're plus 117 on the money line. I think Denver wins this game by a score of 24-20. I think Mitch Trubisky plays better, but also I think that Joe Flacco will play better at home. And that Denver defense normally plays well at home too. That stadium's going to be ruckus on Sunday afternoon. So give me the Broncos plus 2.5 to win the game outright. They win the game 24-20 on the field. The Saints are at the Rams in the rematch of the NFC title game. The Rams are laying 2. The over-under is 52.5. I got the Rams at minus 2.5. It dropped to minus 2, and I love it even more at minus 2. I think that the Rams will win a competitive football game. I think that the Saints are going to come in motivated. But I just think that the home field will prevail with the Rams. Jared Goff plays better at home than he does on the road. So, and by the way, Drew Brees plays worse on the road than he does at home. So, give me the Rams in a very competitive football game. I'm going to say they win this game 30-27. I also like the over in that game as well, but I like the Rams more. And they barely cover the 2.5. I thought 3 scramped to push, so that's why I love the Rams more than the over. Eagles at the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. Falcons getting 2. The over-under is 52.5. This is another underdog I love. Falcons getting 2. I'm taking that. I'm taking them at plus 107 on the money line to win the game outright. I think the Eagles are overrated, especially on the road. Their defense is overrated. I think that Matt Ryan and Julio Jones will light it up against the Eagles secondary. So give me the Falcons by a score of 33-26 in what should be a competitive football game on Sunday night. And then the Browns at the Jets. The Browns are laying a whopping 6.5 now with the injury to Sam Darnold. I think they'll cover that without Sam there. Revenge spot for Odell Beckham Jr. against Greg Williams' defense. Obviously, Greg Williams' defense in Cleveland a few years ago got him injured in that preseason game back when Odell was with the Giants, and it cost the Giants pretty much their season, in my opinion, or in terms of what could have been a competitive season for them a few years ago. So, revenge spot for Odell against the New York Jets in his former home stadium. And obviously I think their defense will be better now that the Jets don't have a healthy Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell will play, but he won't be healthy. And obviously no Darnold. So, and by the way, Trevor Siemian's not a bad backup quarterback. But I just think that the Browns, this is just a good spot for them in prime time on the road. A classic bounce-back spot for the Cleveland Browns. Even if it was with Sam Darnold, I would have picked the Browns here. So give me Cleveland by a score of 27-17. I think that this game is close throughout, but a late touchdown from Baker to number 13, Odell Beckham Jr., to put the game away late. So give me Browns minus 6.5, and obviously the Browns straight up. All right, that's it for the picks. Best bet of the day, brought to you by DraftKings. We'll start with college football, and we're going to take the Boston College money line against Kansas. We're going to take, in baseball, the Chicago Cubs at home against the Pirates. That's going to be going off in about an hour from now. I like the Yankees on the road at Toronto. Bounce back spot for Masahiro Tanaka. Tanaka always pitches well against the Blue Jays. Nearly pitched a complete game against them about a month ago. So I like Tanaka to pitch well on the road. I'm going to take the Oakland Athletics at the Rangers because Oakland's playing for that wild card spot. I'm going to take the Astros as a minus 400 favorite at the Royals. I'm going to take the San Francisco Giants. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not taking the San Francisco Giants. I'm going to take the Rays at the Angels, although I don't feel super about it. Obviously, because Morton has struggled lately. So that is a shade below 7-1, minus 690, laying $1, payout of $7.90. That's it for the podcast. I'll be back Monday recapping all the events from the weekend from the NFL, the college football, WNBA playoffs, FIBA, and any other news that breaks in the world of sports. Maybe I'll have a couple guests on next week to recap the first couple weeks of the NFL season, and maybe some basketball guests to talk about the FIBA World Cup. Hope you guys have a great weekend, everybody.